I love a good pre-made old fashioned like this slow and low, but I wanted to see if any of these were better. What's happening, Panda Nation? Peter Von Panda here. I have in my hands here a bunch of alcoholic drinks, and they are pre-made old fashions. And this is the one that was introduced to me years ago by my buddy Dave. He had me over for dinner and then poured me an old fashioned because I love old fashions. And one of the things that I don't like about old fashions is just making them. They're not super hard. I have my Angostura bitters and sugar cubes and all of that stuff, and I have made them in the past, but my consistency when I make them varies quite a bit. They can be pretty good. I even have my preferred whiskey for them, but this slow and low has just made it so easy to make an old fashioned super quickly, and this is pretty good. I've really enjoyed this. I've had plenty of these in the past. They actually come canned as well if you want to really go easy. But I found that many other companies are in this game here. So I picked this up. This is J.P. Weiser's Old Fashioned Whiskey Cocktail. I picked this one up. This is by Handy and Schiller. Oh yeah, so it's the easiest way to get a handy. Trust me, I know. And this one is Soul Boxer. So I'm gonna box with my soul. Maybe box with my belly. So I have picked all of these up here because I wanted to try them and see if any of them were better than my old reliable slow and low. And so for the benefit of you, I am now gonna drink all of these and give you my final thoughts. I love you, man. I love you. You're so funny. You're funny, man. Oh, how many more of these do I have to drink? It's all for science, you know. So I have them all poured here. I have been drinking them for your benefit. I'm going to start here with the slow and low. I want to go through some of the things that I have observed about these and then give you my preferences at the very end. This is in no way scientific, just kind of what I prefer. So this is the slow and low. What you'll notice here is this is 84 proof, and I will tell you that when I'm drinking this, it's pretty strong, and you kind of don't realize it because it is so easy to drink. And I have drunk a lot of this sometimes and realized that I need to get a ride home. Now, I also want to show you here is that the color is very nice. It's not super dark. It kind of looks like it is a bourbon from a light char barrel. It's not super dark, but it has a nice caramelly color to it. But my problem with this is that the 84 proof here tends to make it like a bourbon, just maybe a little tastier. And so it's one of those things when you actually make an old fashioned, by the time you put everything in it, the bitters, the sugar, maybe some seltzer water, you know, people have different recipes for them. Generally, you're not at the same proof that the bourbon was to start. You have watered it down. In many cases, you might be at 60, 50, 40 proof. So it just depends how you like it. Now, I will tell you that the smell of this is kind of a rich orange. That's what I definitely detect here. So it has a really strong citrus smell to it. And I actually like that because you'll put a little citrus zest in there anyway. And the taste of this is very good and very drinkable. There is definitely a citrus taste to it. I will also say that in terms of the overall feel to me, it's a little thin, which is okay. It kind of makes it taste a little watery, easy to drink. Now, I will also say, because of that 84 proof, there is a pretty good amount of punch on this as well, especially on the back end. You kind of feel that heat, right, from all that alcohol, all right? Now, one of the niggles, and I'm going to show you my niggles on all these, is that the cap here is cork, but it is super wide. Now, the problem with the super wide cork, and I think this is artificial cork, like some sort of plastic or something like that, is that it's a little hard to center and push in, and especially if you're having hand-eye coordination problems, you know, just because it's so big, you really have to kind of push that sucker in. So I actually don't like the cork that much, all right? Now, the overall price on this guy, $27 a bottle. I think that's a pretty good value. Overall, it's pretty nice, and that's why this guy comes in fourth. It has been very good, but of the four I have here, it's bringing up the rear. All right, and number 3 is right here. It's the Handy and Schiller. Now, what I was surprised to learn here is that this actually comes from Buffalo Trace, I believe. So it says Buffalo Trace down there. Uses the Buffalo Trace bourbon, which if you have ever drunk that, you'll know that that's pretty good. I will show you here that the color here is just a little richer. It's a little more of what I call a toasted caramel. So while the slow and low was just a little bit lighter, and I'd call that caramel, this seems to have just a little bit of toasting to it, right? A little bit of that kind of smoky look to it. Now, the thing I will tell you about this, in terms of the smell, is it has a more muted fruit smell to it. In fact, it smells a little bit more medicinal. It definitely has more of that traditional bourbon smell. If I were just to smell this the way it is, I might confuse this for kind of a very aged oaky bourbon. So there's not a lot about the smell itself that says that this is an old fashioned. Now, in terms of the taste, what I noticed here is that it is similar to the Slow and Low. It is very citrusy. I can definitely taste that. Now, I will say that compared to the Slow and Low, it has a much thicker feel to it. So I don't know if that's just because of maybe some added smokiness to it, maybe from the Buffalo Trace bourbon, but it just feels like it is going down a little slower, which I kind of like. You can kind of a little more syrupy, although not syrupy, but it just feels a little thicker. I also want to point out here that it says 84 proof down at the bottom, which is the same as the Slow and Low, so there's a lot of alcohol. It's not watered down by any means, and again, you get a little bit of that punchiness, that burn at the back end of it. That is really good, and between these two, I kind of prefer this one just because of how smooth and thick it feels. It's really, really tasty. However, at $40 a bottle, this was the most expensive one in the bunch, but it is quite good, and I think a pretty good value for that. But that's why it came in number 3. Now, on to number 2, and that is the J.P. Wiser's Old Fashioned right here. As you can tell, maybe just by looking at the bottle there, it is not super dark, and in fact, if I just bring it up here, I just want to show you that this is the lightest of the bunch. If I just compare this to the Handy, you might be able to see that it is quite a bit lighter and very similar to the Slow and Low, but it is just a very caramel color right there. Very, very light. Kind of looks like a young whiskey. The smell here is definitely fruit, and I would say that it is not overwhelmed by the alcohol smell. And one of the reasons that might be the case is that this is only 70 proof here, so 35% alcohol, so quite a bit lower than the other ones, and kind of where I think most old fashions fall by the time you add everything in and dress them up. So it just smells really approachable, and from a taste standpoint, this tastes very fruity and very light. It tastes a little thin. It goes down really easily. It is not overwhelming, and especially for those people that don't drink hard alcohol by themselves, a lot of times they're kind of overwhelmed by the strength of the alcohol after you take the drink, and this doesn't really have any of that. It's really super easy to drink like this, no ice or anything. But I will say it definitely errs on the side of fruity, which I actually like. It tastes very good. It tastes a little bit sweeter than the other ones, so very pleasant and enjoyable. Now I want to show you something else, and this might offend the drinker in you, but this has a screw-on cap here. Now, I will tell you that many very good wine bottles come with screw-on caps. I actually like this the best because it is the easiest to access, and I think it works very, very well. So, the fact that this comes with the screw-on cap, which some people might poo-poo or turn their nose up at, I actually think is the best because it makes it the easiest one to cork and uncork and drink right away. And it also helps the price point on this because this is the cheapest bottle of them all at $18 a bottle, and I think it is fantastic. And at $18 for this, this is the one I think everyone should add to their collection because it smells great, tastes delicious, and I think a lot of people, even for those people that aren't hard alcohol drinkers, they will enjoy this. So this is really good. This was definitely a contender for number 1. $18 a bottle, 70 proof. Just delightful. Now the number 1, and this one you could argue maybe is not as much your speed as my number 2. I don't think you can go wrong with either of these, but this one is a little bit different. This is the Soul Boxa Old Fashioned, and what you might be able to see there is the color is nowhere near some of these other ones. It is dark. In fact, I mean, it's almost dark cloudy. If I were to look at this bottle and not know what's in there, I might think it's a sherry or something like that. So very, very dark, and the darkest color of them all, even with the little splash that I have in there, it is very red. It is also the lowest proof, not by a lot, 68 proof versus 70 proof, which I actually like because I think it makes it that much more drinkable than some of the other ones. So this reddish tinge here, what does that mean to the nose? Well, it means there are 2 distinct smells here. One, fruit, which I actually really like because the old fashions are usually spiced up with fruit, but then the other one is, as you might expect, oak or smoke. I mean, it just smells great. It smells rich. So for me, I like oaky, smoky, well-aged, charred barrel bourbons. You know, those just have a lot of flavor and depth and usually character to me. And this seems to have a lot of that, but also kind of cut in half with fruit. So it's got both of these. Now, what does it taste like? All right, this one to me has the heaviest fruit flavor. It also has a little bit of that thick, syrupy feel to it. And I think maybe because it's so rich in flavor. So there's that heavy fruit flavor, that heavy oaky, smoky flavor. It just has everything, man. It is so flavorful. That is the thing here, is it just is delicious. I will say that despite it having a fairly low proof rating here, there is a little bit of that alcohol sting on the back end, but not so much that I think will turn off novice drinkers. But man, this is really good, man. It just has so much flavor and character. Now, the niggle that I want to point out about this is that this also has a cork, but it is, again, also plastic, so not real. But it's normal size, kind of wine bottle size, so as you can see, I can put it in there without having to put it on the table like I did with the slow and low and really press that thing in there. The other thing that I really love about this is that it is $25 a bottle. So even though it is $7 more than this one here, man, I think you're getting a lot. I think you are getting so much dimension, flavor, a beautiful nose, a beautiful color. Dude, you could just drink this straight up, but I think all of these would benefit from being poured over wonderfully clear whiskey ice cubes. So this one is definitely my favorite. I am probably going to adios this sucker goodbye, and then someone will find me in the front yard tomorrow morning. So this is absolutely delicious. They are all certainly winners, but if I had to go out and just buy one of these in the future, the Soul Boxer would take my money. So if you want to pick up any of these, I'll put links to them in the description. Again, all fantastic options, but Soul Boxer is the lucky lady that's going home with me tonight. Cheers to you, Peter Von Panda. Out.
We can discover more and explore so much deeper. We can live better than ever thanks to Peter Von Panda.